Burndown was so easy about 10 years ago. You just threw Roundup out there. If you wanted something for residual, you threw that in with the Roundup. No big deal. But today, when we have all these Roundup-resistant weeds, Roundup just isn't going to cut it. You're going to need something else.
Yeah, the question was, what rate of Roundup do I use? Oh,
Right.
the weeds are a little big, so I didn't get out there that last week like I should have. I just throw in a little more Roundup, and that's probably part of the reason why we have the problems we have today.
Now, in a lot of cases, Roundup is still part of the Burndown simply because it's good on a lot of weeds yet. It'll kill quite a few broadleaves. It will kill almost all grasses. You know, when you're only going to spend a couple bucks on the Roundup, is it a big deal to leave it out? No. You might as well spend the $2 and get better control on a lot of those weeds out there.
All right, hold on though. We've got tank mix partners now that we're putting in with it to maybe pick up some tough broadleaf weeds, and a lot of those tank mix products are fast killers where Roundup is really slow. So
yeah, but if you're just after annual weeds, who cares? We just want that thing down. Just burn the top growth down and you're probably fine. It's no big deal. It's not like we're after perennials. If you're after a perennial weed, most of the perennials are still very susceptible to Roundup. And then, yeah, we would suggest going with a very high rate of Roundup, low water volume, get as much of that Roundup into the plant as quickly as possible, kill the whole root system. That's great. But most burn down situations, we're not after those perennials.
All right, let's talk about a couple things. First of all, winter annuals like mare's tail. What do you like for mare's tail control?
All right, well, first of all, before we go to that, I should mention gramoxone, and that is something that I do like with mare's tail too, but gramoxone is kind of the new standard. Roundup was the standard 5-10 years ago. Gramoxone is kind of that today. So if you want something that's going to kill everything out there, gramoxone is probably your product. Now, you might say, well, why didn't we talk about it 10 years ago? It's been around forever. Yeah, it has, but it's one of the most dangerous products that we have. So we really don't want to use gramoxone, but if you feel like you have to use gramoxone, it is an option, and it is very good on mare's tail. But the key with gramoxone is you want sun, you want heat, and you need to throw something along with it, whether that's 2,4-D, dicamba, oil, something like that to kind of heat it up.
All right, the other thing with gramoxone is it doesn't kill the roots. So it's not like Roundup in that it's going to move down into that root system. It's just going to be top growth control, but it's going to work 100 times faster than Roundup.
Yeah, but with mare's tail, all we care about is burning the top growth down, and then usually we're in good shape. To continue on that mare's tail deal, I'd still say, like in front of soybeans, we want the 3 pre's. Get the 3 pre's out there, a yellow, metribuzin, a PPO, and then also gramoxone along with it. I know it's a lot of stuff, and I know gramoxone's much more expensive than Roundup is, but that's kind of what you've got to do if you want great mare's tail control in the spring, unless, of course, you've got Extend beans. Then you can just go with dicamba all by itself, and that'll take the mare's tail out.
All right, now we want to be really cautious if we're using 2,4-D or dicamba in with a burn down, what crop we're in front of, what kind of time we've got before that crop is going to be up, and
let's be very specific then. Absolutely no 2,4-D, period. Unless you've got a 2,4-D tolerant crop that enlists trait, no way, no 2,4-D, period. Okay, on dicamba, absolutely in front of Extend.
2 months ahead? What if you're 2 months ahead?
Yeah, but we're talking right in front. Why would you do a burn down 2 months in advance? I don't understand that. If you're going to burn down, then plant the crop.
So we talked about the mare's tail, which is Roundup resistant, most places that you'll find it. How about Palmer pigweed, water hemp,
it's the same thing.
Ragweed, those kinds of things?
You know, it's really the same thing. If I'm talking in front of corn, I'm not that worried about it. We got plenty of post-emerge products that are great on all those weeds. Not a big deal, but if you want great burn down, I'm probably looking at dicamba in front of corn. Certainly you can use gramoxone. If you want, you can go to Verdict, Sure Start, or Triple Flex are okay, but not great. So I'd probably lean toward those other ones. Dicamba or Verdict, that's probably me. In front of soybeans, use the 3 pre's. Throw gramoxone in with it, that's gonna burn everything down. Otherwise, again, if it's in front of Extend soybeans, just use dicamba. That'll kill all those weeds as long as you use the right rate.
Well, certainly this time of year, there are a lot of burn down questions, and many of the acres now have switched from using Roundup, which isn't effective on these Roundup resistant weeds, moving to a product like gramoxone, which is another non-selective product that's going to kill grasses and broadleaves. Just have to keep in mind it's not going to get down in the root system on perennial weeds like Roundup did, so Roundup still may be useful if you've got mainly grasses or if you've got perennial weeds out there.
All right, well, there is a perennial weed that we haven't talked about yet that we quite commonly see in a burn down situation. You need to control this weed. What is it? We'll talk about it coming up next.